Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Mark Roden. Welcome back to the channel, and today we're doing the good, the bad, and the ugly on the Infiniti G35. Why? Because it was highly requested. A lot of you guys wanted to see the G35 after I did the 350Z because they're pretty much the same car, and most of my subscribers are fans of those cars. So we're gonna do it because I love you guys and you guys love me, right? Right? I hope so. Anyway guys, if you enjoy, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, post those notifications on, it helps me out a lot. And also comment down below any other cars you'd like to see. I already did the 8th Gen Civic and 350Z, so don't comment those. But comment any other car you want to see, and let's get right into it. Alright, so the way this is going to go is, first off, I'm going to talk about the car itself, the body styles, the trim levels it has, and the engines it came with. And then after that, I'm going to talk about modability and what people usually do in modifying these cars. If they drift them, if they track them, if they drag them, whatever, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? And then after that, we get into the good, which is stuff that is just like selling points on the car, very good stuff. Then the bad, which is stuff that you can kind of like take it or leave it. It's kind of like up to you. It's an opinion based thing, or it doesn't really matter too much. And then the ugly, which is stuff that you can't really avoid, that kind of sucks about the car, and yeah, it's a bit of an issue. But anyway, let's get into the actual car itself. The Infiniti G35, compared to like the 8th Gen Civic, which is what we just did, is very simple when it comes to body styles and trims. And it literally came with either the coupe body style or the sedan body style. And a facelift came to the sedan in 2006, but it was the same car. The car was produced from 2003 to 2009, and in 2006 it got a full rework, but didn't really change much on the looks for the coupe, while the sedan got a massive facelift. In early years 2003 to 2006, the car came with the VQ35DE, which was a 3.5 liter V6 that made 287 horsepower. And in the years 2006 to 2009, it came with the VQ35HR, which made 306 horsepower. Both were offered with either a manual or automatic transmission, and both were rear-wheel drive until the sedan got an X version of it, which sported all-wheel drive. That's pretty awesome. An Infiniti G35 sedan that has all-wheel drive. If you live in a snowy area and you need all-wheel drive, but you still are a VQ boy, buy a G35 sedan. Bada boom, bada bing. For trim levels, there was literally only base or sport package for the sedans and just base for the coupes. There was no special trim levels for either of them. They had like enthusiast levels and stuff like that, but they were the exact same. The only ones that actually made a difference was sport. Sport had like Brembo brakes and stuff like that. Pretty much the same thing that happened with the 350Z, where they didn't really care too much about trim levels. But now let's get into modifying the car. For drifting, the sedan is actually used so freaking much. The reason being is they are dirt cheap. You can find a G35 sedan rear-wheel drive for like $3 grand. And that's very, very good, especially for what it came with. The car came with 287 horsepower and rear-wheel drive for $3,000. So that's why people usually pick up a G35 sedan, my bad. The coupe, though, that's not really used as much since they're not as cheap, and they're a little bit heavier, actually. And typically, if you're going to spend coupe money, like G35 coupe money, people just go with the 350Z, since the 350Z is better for drifting. So they just opt with that one instead. Now, for the show car route, these are pretty much almost always like VIP high camber levels, and rarely will you see a G35 with a wide body kit and huge spoilers, huge splitters, huge like diffusers, all that stuff. Usually doesn't really happen on the G35s. It can, by all means, they can wide body them, and sometimes they do, but for the most part they keep them with stock body and just lower the absolute crap out of them, since they already have a very luxurious looking, nice, clean body style. People don't want to make them look aggressive. It doesn't really work that well. For actual racing, once again, most people would rather go with the 350Z since it's better in almost every way, and this car was meant for luxury, so you are rarely going to see these on the track. It can be done, obviously. If the 350Z had never come out, then I feel like the G35 coupe would be on the track just as much as the 350Z is now, but since the 350Z did, people just go with that one instead. It has a longer wheelbase, it's a little bit heavier, has 4 seats, and doesn't have the nice suspension components and stiff brakes and all that kind of stuff that the 350Z does have. The one place you will see these cars at all the time is at like a takeover car meet, since like I said before, they're super cheap, they're powerful, and they're rear-wheel drive cars, and so people love to be on these cars. But now let's get into the good, the bad, and the ugly, and we'll start with the good because I'm an optimistic mofo. And Then we'll go to bad, and then the ugly. We'll leave on the ugly. First of all, for the good, the car is super freaking comfortable. It's meant to be a luxury version of the Z car, and it does it really, really well. It's also based off of the Skyline out in Japan, and so the Skyline out there was meant to be a daily commuter comfortable car. The GTR is a completely different story. We don't talk about that. Next, the sedan is actually a bit of a sleeper, since most people don't know that this little sedan is pushing 300 horsepower and is either all-wheel drive or rear-wheel drive. People usually think this is like a front-wheel drive economy car when they first see them, but it's not. It's a little bit of a beast. Next, it has all-wheel drive if you need that in your life, but it also has rear-wheel drive if you're a drifty boy like myself. It also has both a coupe and a sedan option for you, for whichever one you would rather have. Also, an automatic and a manual transmission both performed really well. The CD009 is one of the best transmissions to ever come out. People swap the CD009s into Supras because of how nice of a transmission it was, and they have those in the G35 car. The car itself has endless options for you for whichever one you want to go with. Next on the list is every single one of these cars has 4 seats, so you'll never need more room for your friends unless you have a lot of friends, unlike myself. Next is the engine is reliable, but if you are beating on it. Now, if you are going to beat on it, that is not a reliable engine. Neither is any engine, okay? Get that through your head. I hate when people say like, oh yeah, but I like race my G35 and it isn't reliable. You could race any car and it won't be reliable, okay? It doesn't matter which car it is. They're not good at handling top speeds like that, except for like Ferraris. Also, on top of that, the parts are freaking cheap. The community is massive. The aftermarket support is massive. So there's endless fun if you got some money. The next thing is the car looks really good. That's my opinion. But I don't think I've ever heard anybody really say that a G35 looks bad. It has a great mix of being elegant but also sporty. Infiniti is always pretty good at that, but they really excelled it when making the G35. And last for good is the car is almost the perfect speed. It's not too fast, so you're going to be dying when you take it out, but it's also not too slow, so you won't get bored of it after a month or two. But now it's time to get into the bad. And once again, the bad is like the middle grounds, the stuff that you can take it or leave it. First is the exhaust note isn't the best by any means necessary, but if you like higher pitched, almost like F1 cars sounding, and you aren't a big fan of the American V8s, then you will like this sound. I personally am not the biggest fan of the American V8 loud, rumbly sound. I like the more like for example, I like street bikes. I like how they sound. It's very high pitched. I like that. Next is it's heavy. It's heavier than the Z Brother, and it can cause problems when talking about racing. If you don't care about racing it, this won't matter to you, but if you do, just keep in mind that it's a heavy car. It has a very long wheelbase. It wasn't built for racing. Next is it gets a little difficult to shift in the manual transmission, since apparently the center console is kind of right in the way. I watched a video. This guy was talking about how the cup holders are right in the middle along with the center console, and it gets very difficult to shift your manual transmission in that car, and everything gets in your way, which I think is kind of funny. But anyway, next is for some reason the doors are extremely heavy and they don't stay. Like, you know how like when you open up a door and it like catches and it usually just stays there? Well, they don't do that, and they will fall back on you and just crush your legs. And that happens to me in my 350Z too. The door hinges, they just don't stay, so it comes back. If you're at an incline, you got to be like Thanos to get out of the car. You got to like be holding it and getting out at the same time. It sucks. And same with the G35. Apparently it's also extremely heavy, and especially it's gonna suck for your passengers too, like when because they don't know that the door is so heavy, so it's just gonna come back and crush them. So that kind of sucks, but that's something very small. Another very small thing is that a lot of people have problems with the driver's side window that likes to fail. Apparently the window motor in the driver's side window just is bad, which, like I said, that's a very small, simple fix. It's not that big a deal. It also has leather seats, which is cool for some people. Personally, I hate leather seats. That's why I put this in the bad section, because I know that some people love it, but personally I don't. So I know there's like a couple people that do, a couple people that don't, so that's just something to take into consideration. But now let's get into the ugly. These are things that you can't really deny are bad about the car. First off is the oil consumption problems of the VQ engine itself is very bad. The car eats through oil like crazy, and you can get it fixed by simply installing a catch can, but no one really wants to do that because it should have been done from the factory. Whenever you have like a car that's like, you get the car and it immediately has a problem that's a problem with every other car, for example, oil consumption problems with VQ engines, you always kind of think like, why should I be paying this money when they should have just fixed it themselves? Next is the engine bay is small. It makes it really freaking difficult to work inside there when adding parts. I learned this the hard way in my 350Z. It sucked. The engine bay is super small. It's hard to get to the back of it. It's extremely hard to get into the sides of it. And it's just not the most fun. It's not a good choice if you're just gonna be your first car learning how to work on it. The car is very finicky when trying to mess with the fuel to air ratio. If you add an intake, you gotta get it tuned on the car, or the ECU will pick up on it and make your car drive like shit. I have a 350Z and I'm experiencing that problem right now. The guys before me, they put a K&N intake on it, and now the ECU is getting this extra inflow of air and is kind of shutting the car down a little bit. The 350Z and just the VQ engines in general, for some reason, are very touchy when it comes to that, which is a good thing, but it also kind of sucks because then you can't really add like really cool parts without the car like wanting to die. Next is, it really is not the best choice for racing. It is a freaking cool car, don't get me wrong. I think the G35 is super cool. I almost got one instead of my 350Z, but if we're talking strictly performance and not daily driving or comfortability, the Z beats it in every single way, and there are a lot of other cars out there that are way better for it in racing and handling and drifting and drag racing than a G35. It does have a very good engine that can handle power and can make cheap power, but it's too heavy. It has too long of a wheelbase. It doesn't have stiff suspension. It's not built to be a freaking race car, and so when you try to build it to be a race car, it takes a lot more than if you were to build a car that was meant to be a race car, if that makes any sense. Alright, so that is the end of the good, the bad, and the ugly. I'm going to give you guys my personal opinion on if I think you should get this car or not. Personally, I think if you're looking for a rear-wheel drive fun car to have, I honestly would stick with a 350Z. Now, given if you want a car that looks really cool and it's just going to look very clean and you want to stay comfortable and this is going to be your daily driver, I highly recommend using a G35 over a 350Z. Reason being, 350Z is more of a race car. So if you want to drift, if you want to race, if you want to be very fast, then a 350Z is a better option. They're almost around the same price, at least the coupe and the it's the coupe G35 and the coupe 350Z are. And so it doesn't really make that much of a difference. And if you're going the sedan route, then honestly, just drift the crap out of it, man, because it's dirt cheap and it's a lot of fun to drift those things, so just do that. Also, if this is going to be your first car, I do think it's actually a very good choice. Since it's heavier, a little bit slower than the 350Z, it's not as dangerous as the 350Z, and it has a lot of better like blind spots, and it's up higher from the ground. It's more built for daily driving, and it's going to be more more forgiving to a new driver. Alrighty, but that is the end of this list. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, comment another car you want to see, because I like doing these good, the bad, and ugly. It's a lot of fun. And subscribe to the channel, where I am doing car videos all the time because I like cars, and you guys do too, and that's pretty cool, I think. So yeah, let's keep doing it. Comment a car down below that you guys want to see. The next video is going to be on the Mazda RX-8. Somebody commented it down below on the other video, and then he did it on the next video too, so he obviously wants to see it, and so I'll make sure to do that. I enjoy making these because I learn things about the cars that I never knew either, and it makes me, it makes me happy. It makes me feel smarter. Anyway, guys, thank you so much. Also, the 350Z does have a problem right now, but I'll update you guys on that because I'm pretty sure I figured out the problem myself, and so we'll try and get that fixed together as a big wide family. On top of all that, guys, I also want to announce, if you stay this far, most likely you're a fan of the channel, so thank you. But also, I wanted to say, one thing that I love doing just as much as driving cool cars and doing cool cars is video games, and I play video games quite often. And so I bought myself an Elgato capture card for my Xbox One, and I'm just going to record Let's Plays of different games. I'm going to start with Call of Duty because that's my favorite genre of game, and I'm going to start with that and then go from there. I'm going to completely upload these on a different channel, and it's going to take, if I have to work on one of these YouTube videos, I'll do one of these first. It's not going to be my #1 priority, but it's going to be a little side thing that I like to do. So if you enjoy that kind of stuff, keep up to date on the videos. I'll drop the link pretty soon. Once the Elgato comes in and I make my first video, I will make the channel, and bada boom bada bing. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Das vidanya, and have a nice day.